destroying the destroyers of the earth.
Well, hey guys, how y'all doing today? Welcome to the first episode of Snollygoster. Now, you may be thinking to yourselves, Dave, what does Snollygoster mean? Well, Snollygoster is a mid-18th century word that means a shrewd or unprincipled person, especially a politician. So, I want to do this new show, and I want to, focus on heavier subjects, but I want to look at them in a more in-depth way. And I think now in 2020, with all the things that's been going on, it's a good time to ask questions, maybe learn a little bit. So I hope you enjoy the first episode of our new show here on Zoe Zizzles. So I want to go and hit an old subject. So I want to talk about the new Star Wars movies. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, Star Wars has been talked to death. There's people out there that hate the new movies. There's people out there that love the new movies. But I want to look at it from a certain point of view. And what I mean by this is Disney, there's always fans out there who love the movies, who loves Star Wars. And for each one of these movies, there were 3 men, and I'm not going to name them, but there were 3 men that were dying of cancer. And us who are healthy, that seen the movies, we have our own opinions. But each of these men that knew they were going to die and they were never going to be able to see the full story, but because they loved Star Wars so much, they, family members sent letters and emails and tweets to Disney, and Disney, let them watch the movies before anybody else did. So the first guy I want to talk about, he was in his mid-30s and he was dying of pancreatic cancer when The Force Awakens came out. And I want to try to imagine what he thought. And I have to say that I'm sure, he probably, loved the original 3 movies, seen the prequels, wasn't that impressed with them. And now, J.J. Abrams is, rebooting Star Wars, and he did a good job with Star Trek, so it was exciting. And it's been a long time since there's been any new Star Wars movies. And there was a lot of hype built around these movies, which there always is. So when The Force Awakens came out, even though it was a soft reboot, as fans, we could pick up on certain things, but it was interesting to see the way, for example, when Kylo Ren, came on the scene, and that very first scene where Poe shoots the laser bolt at him and he stops it in midair. That was something we'd never seen before. And, to have a stormtrooper take off his helmet and be an African American, we've seen in the Clone Wars, stormtroopers without their helmets on, but this was kind of a twist to it, and it was really nice. And of course, they're back on a desert planet, which was very similar to Tatooine. And Rey's character was very similar to Luke, but she was stronger, she was more on her own, so it made it fun. And then when you had the Millennium Falcon, and then Han and Chewie, I'm sure that this man who was dying of cancer, really felt the nostalgia, the member berries really, flooded over him, and he was excited, as I was when I was sitting there watching it. And I really liked Kylo Ren, and I'm sure this man, he liked Kylo Ren. I always thought that Adam Driver, the way he played Kylo Ren, should have been the way Anakin was played. And I can't blame, Hayden Christensen. George Lucas is notorious about not giving good direction to his actors, so, he did the best he could, but I always thought that Adam Driver, the way he played Kylo Ren, should have been the way young Darth Vader or young Anakin Skywalker was played. And, sure, we get to a big super weapon, and even Han made a joke about it, but, that's neither here neither here nor there. And I'm sure when that man was lying there, knowing that he's going to die of cancer, never going to be able to see the completion of the 3 movies, you know, when Kylo killed Han Solo and Han Solo fell into the abyss, I'm sure it saddened him, but it also filled him with comfort, you know, knowing that he too was going to die. And probably one of his heroes, you know, we all die. You know, no one is immortal. We're not gods. Even the greatest men that do the greatest things, our favorite characters, they still are mortal and pass away. So maybe it gave him comfort. And then when Rey and Kylo were fighting, and Kylo had Rey backed up to the abyss after the planet cracked because it was exploding, and then she closed her eyes and she dug down deep and pulled up the force, and she was able to defeat Kylo, and they were able to escape. And then going to the island, and that iconic shot of Rey reaching out and handing Anakin's lightsaber back to Luke, and the look on Luke's face, and he didn't say anything, and he was all grizzled and gray. You know, it was a very poignant, powerful moment. And I know that first man, you know, knowing that he's not going to see how the story, you know, turns out, probably really, he was happy, but he was melancholy in a way. You know, he was melancholy because he knew he wouldn't see, you know, he wouldn't find out who was Snoke, you know, who was Rey, and, you know, what did Luke say when he seen his father's lightsaber? Which many of us fans, we were right there with him. And I have to say, you know, he may have never seen how it ended, but he didn't miss much. So then there was a second man. He was in his 60s, and he was a huge Star Wars fan. And again, his family, you know, sent out messages, tweets, and emails to Disney, and Disney allowed him to see The Last Jedi. And when it comes to Last Jedi, if this guy was as big a fan as, you know, I am, The Last Jedi was a dump. It was a dump. I know Rian Johnson thought it would be funny to subvert our expectations, but the needless humor, the huge plot holes, you know, the way that he shit on the Jedi, the way he made Luke this hermit, you know, I'm sure that that man that was lying there dying of cancer was watching this and going, you know, these are my heroes. Luke was one of my heroes, and this is what you're doing to him. I know that there's this toxic fan culture out there with Star Wars, but one of the reasons, and because you can't tell every individual story, but just my own story. You know, I was born in 74. The original Star Wars came out in 77, so I was only 3 years old. And so I don't remember the original Star Wars. I've seen it later, but I do remember The Empire Strikes Back. And that was the first movie that I went to with just me and my dad. And it was such a powerful thing. The father and son dynamic between Luke and Vader, it reminded me so much of me and my dad, even though, you know, we were close and had a lot of love. Just a father and son thing. And I think that's why it touched me so much. And my dad, he's been gone now for 13 years. And I still remember that. Even though I'm 46 years old, I remember that feeling it gave me in my heart. And, you know, The Last Jedi, with the way Snoke was killed, answering nothing, you know, it just left you so mad. And then the way that they ended the movie, you know, I'm sure Rian Johnson thought he was being so creative, but it was just a regurgitation of The Empire Strikes Back. It had Yoda. It had a dark hole that Rey went to, just like Luke went to this dark place on Dagobah with his bad spirits. It had, you know, AT-ATs on a salt planet at the end of the movie, whereas Empire had AT-ATs on a snow planet at the beginning of the movie. And and the humor was stupid, and the porgs were stupid, and the way they portrayed Luke was stupid, and the way he died, I'm sure that guy that was dying of cancer, he may have had the same thoughts that I did. He was like, well, I can die now because who cares how the third one ends? There's nothing that I can care about because The Last Jedi, when I walked out of that movie, it left me with like, who cares what happens next? So then we have The Rise of Skywalker, and a third man dying of cancer. His family contacts Disney and they let him see the movie. And I'm not going to get into the jumbled mess of trying to shove 3 movies into one and the humongous plot holes and the retconning and all of that. It's just so stupid. It just ruined everything. The dagger thing was just the most idiotic, plot hole, device, MacGuffin ever. But I do want to talk about one thing, and that is the Emperor. Can the people that write Star Wars not come up with anything that's intelligent? And what I mean by this, the Emperor, when he shoots lightning from his fingers, does he not have an off switch? Once he starts shooting, does it just keep coming out until it runs out of power? Just like in Return of the Jedi, he's shooting the lightning at Luke, Darth Vader picks him up, he's shooting himself, and then he throws him down the pit. Why did he stop it? Or in the prequels, when he's shooting it at Mace Windu, and Mace Windu starts reflecting it back, and it's burning his face. Just stop. And again, Rise of Skywalker, when she crosses the lightsabers, and he's shooting, and it's coming back at him. Is the Emperor an idiot? You're being killed by your own force power. Stop shooting it. It's so ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's just, they took those movies and they could have been great and they just screwed them up. They didn't have a plan. It just goes to show you how much Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy, they don't give a crap about the fans. It's all about money. They know that they can just throw a bunch of crap out on the screen and people will go see it. And now, one of the big hot things is The Mandalorian. And I've watched all the episodes of The Mandalorian, and to me, it's a video game. As much as I love Boba Fett is my favorite character. The Mandalorian is stupid. And I know that's going to shock a lot of people. It's stupid. It's a video game. The first season, he would go do these little missions, get some metal, come back and upgrade his armor. Power up, power up, power up. And the plot device of Baby Yoda, all that is to sell merchandise. Just like the Porgs were for The Last Jedi, just like Ewoks, R2-D2, all these movies, Baby Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy, Gremlins, Gizmo, and now you have Baby Yoda. Oh, he's so cute. It's just a way for people to sell stuff. And when I watch The Mandalorian, I'm like, it's a video game come to life. He goes, does a little mission, gets a little upgrade, or has to help somebody to move on to the next thing. It's a video game come to life. It's boring. The Baby Yoda thing is cute for like the first couple of episodes, and then you're like, okay, he uses little force powers, he eats stuff, and the Mandalorian takes care of him. There's some type of, which I even thought, I can understand the Mandalorian not wanting to kill a baby, but Whoopi, why is he so like, attached to this Baby Yoda thing? You're this great warrior, who kills people, no problem, and now you got a Baby Yoda and you can't freaking, it's like you become Mary Poppins. But anyway, I digress. So that's the thing that I wanted to focus on. Everybody's talked about these movies from every angle. But I don't think anybody talked about how the three people that were dying, that were the first people to see him, and maybe what they thought about him, and how the first guy was probably sad that he wouldn't see the ending because so many questions were left unanswered. And he probably was happy. The second guy and the third guy, they probably were like, everything that I cared about has been shit on. Now, all I can do now is die. So anyway, I hope you liked this first episode, Snollygoster. This is Dave, Zoe Zizzles. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.